Travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kai.
And we're the Genshin Guys. Welcome all, this podcast is for fans of Genshin Impact, the mobile game made by Hoyoverse, also known as miHoYo. Here we talk about our opinions, experiences, and dreams about Genshin Impact. If you like our show, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the podcast. So before we get started, Kahi, how are you doing today?
Ooh, getting over a cold, getting over a cough, and just sinuses flaring up. I heard you were kind of getting over a cough and some sickness too. How are you doing right now? Your voice any different?
Same. Probably slightly. But yeah. I will do my best. I know we'll do our best, but we are on the recovering side, isn't that right, Kahi?
Yep. Whatever happens, we'll fix it in post.
I like that mindset. Okay, so today's topics, let's go ahead and dive right in. We will be talking about our weeks in Genshin, Genshin news, Dehya's story quest, Faruzan's Hangout quest, and the community discussion question, and of course our last wish segment. So this episode is a story episode, meaning that there will be spoilers ahead, so feel free to not listen to this episode yet if you have not finished any part of the discussion that we're going to have about Dehya's story and Faruzan's Hangout. Okay, so if you have not finished those, I recommend finishing them before listening to the podcast. But if you don't really mind spoilers and want to hear our thoughts, we do summarize a little bit and then we go into our thoughts. So even if you don't know, if you haven't done the quest, you will be able to follow somewhat. But for the best experience, definitely recommend finishing the quest first. Okay, so that being said, let's get started with our weeks in Genshin. Okay, Kahi, how was your week in Genshin?
So I was still building my animal team with Faruzan because I know that she was going to be part of the focus of this episode. But then I was looking for all my animal characters, and I'm realizing I only have Kazuha on like one team, but I've like Raiden, Shogun, like Zhongli on like several teams. So I'm trying to see if I can make like a DPS or damage Kazuha instead of a support Kazuha. So I'm giving him like all these like attack relics. His basic normal attacks are cool. It's just so much of him revolves around his elemental skill. Like I feel like using just some normal attacks and that's it doesn't really last as long, because like for example, Ayaka has like really good normal attacks. You have Zhao has really good normal attacks. Rosaria has cool normal attacks. Kazuha's ends like pretty quickly. Yeah. So it's hard to really use him as like a damage dealer, like DPS. So I just reverted him back to like his elemental mastery set. I have like 901 elemental mastery on him. So he's really good at just, proccing, aggravates and like, just doing all kinds of, elemental mixtures and stuff like that. So he kind of fell back into a support role again. So I'll probably make more teams with him later on, but I really like my all animal team because I don't have to really think, just throw their abilities and just get it all done. So right, it's really good. And what about you? What about anything new in Genshin you've been doing? I know you had like an interview, right?
Yeah, so last week I had an interview with Owlet, the content creator, but this week I had an interview with Island XD. And he's a really, really cool guy who does Genshin lore videos, and he streams all Hoyoverse stuff. So he's really excited for Star Rail. He is caught up on Honkai 3rd, and he streams Genshin and makes content about Genshin. He does all this on YouTube, sometimes streams on Twitch. But we had some really good conversations on the Coffee and Culture podcast. So if you are interested in checking that out, check out their channel or check out our Discord. The link was posted in there as well. So yeah, that was one big thing I did.
Didn't something new come out in Honkai, like a new chapter or story?
Yeah. So and actually, Island XD just streamed last night. The last part of the main story, I believe, came out yesterday. I'm not caught up. I don't really know exactly what's happening in there, but I know it's a big deal, and it is just happened recently in like the past couple days. So if you are a Honkai person, but if not, it is just, another Hoyoverse game. that shares a lot of similar themes and similarities with Genshin, being made by the same company. So yeah, it's pretty great. Other than that, in Genshin, I've been trying to clear my quests one at a time. Of course, I did the Dehya quest, which is great. I'm still working on the R&R quests. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what I want to do next character-wise, like who I want to level next. Like Albedo is really interesting to me. Like I really want to like get him to 90, but I'm also thinking about getting my supports up so I can 36 star Abyss easier. So like getting Kuki to 90, getting Xingqiu to 90, getting Bennett to 90, and Xiangling. Like all of this takes a lot of farming of resources, and I don't know. To be honest, recently I've just been like, I feel like Genshin for me has been in a lull. I think for many people because nothing major is happening right now. Yeah, it's off season for sure. And of course, we're probably gonna have some crazy stuff happen toward the end of the Sumeru arc before we move on to Fontaine. But definitely feels like we're at the low point, and we're gonna start building up from here with the next story patches and stuff to get ready to go to Fontaine and see the conclusion of the Sumeru part of our journey so far. So yeah, just been chill. It's been really chill. And of course, we've been talking a lot in the Discord. So if you are interested, feel free to join our Discord. The link is in the description. We've been talking about theories. We've been talking about the lore that we did find out, like definitely confirmed lore. And we just talk about questions, fun questions, kind of like our community question. We do that every day. We actually have a question of the day in Discord. So if you are interested in answering questions similar to the community question, but more often and with a bunch of different interesting twists and spins and make you think about the game, join our Discord. We do it every day. Okay. So that being said, like those are our weeks in Genshin. Now we want to talk about Genshin news. Okay, so in Genshin news this week, we have a couple things. So we had 2 birthdays. We had Noelle's birthday on March 20th, and we had Ayato's birthday on March 26th. Of course, as always, on the Twitter, they post some really nice 4K resolution art square ratio of these characters, as well as like a chibi picture that's really funny that shows them in some situation. Always fun to look at. If you're interested, check it out on the Twitter or the HoYoLab app. And speaking of the HoYoLab app, there is a spring outing themed fan creation competition until April 17th. So if you post your spring outing themed fan art on HoYoLab TikTok, Twitter, or Facebook with the hashtag Teyvat Spring Break and hashtag Genshin Impact, you have a chance to win up to $3,000 US. So if you have some fan art skills and you want to do some of that, definitely take part in this competition. You have nothing to lose. It is fun to share with the community. And yeah, go for it before April 17th. Don't forget. Now, they also released, usually I find these on Twitter, but they have the Windbloom's Breath wallpaper series. So what they do is they have like the title wallpaper, which in this past Windbloom event was like that picture of Aether sitting with everybody on the hill. They have the 4K version of that, and they have a 4K picture of Dehya as well. And they have, when you download it, it has all the sizes and all the resolutions. So if you want to put it on your phone, you want to put it on your desktop, it's like all wallpapers made high resolution for all of those different devices. And it's free. You can just download it. So check that out on the official Twitter. Easy to find.
If you're going to be downloading from Twitter, keep in mind you have to actually load the 4K picture. Like you have to press and hold and say load 4K, and then you get the 4K picture, because Twitter doesn't always like give you like the high resolution version right away.
Right,
but,
that is for
if it shows up, then you do it.
That is for the pictures, like the birthday pictures. But this Windbloom's Breath picture, like to download it, you have to download like a zip file. So they're all are in there in different resolutions. But, yeah.
It's in a link or something.
Right, but you're right. For the 4K ones, especially if you're like an iPhone user, just make sure when you're in Twitter to looking at a picture, hit the ... and you can do load in 4K, and then you save that picture. That's the one you want. Okay, so thank you for that, Kahi. So we have the Fungus Mechanicus event, which has also started. I have not tried this myself yet. Kahi, have you tried this?
That's the same one as before, right?
No, it's totally different. It's totally different. It's
Oh wait, no, Fungus Mechanicus.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're fighting like the actual like elemental pillars and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I heard
No,
it's
I
more
did
of
not
like an
start that yet.
RTS, and I'm really, really interested in checking it out. So
It's like an overhead view, right? Yeah.
yeah, so I'm really curious about that. But it has started. I will probably talk about it for the next podcast because it'll probably be ending around then. But yeah, I mean, it looked like I'm excited to try it. When I saw it in the live stream, I was really excited to try it. So let's see. And also, Mika was released, and Ayaka and Shunha's banners have started since the last time that we did a podcast. So if you're interested, those Ayaka wanters and Shunha wanters, I hope you become Ayaka havers and Shunha havers. And Mika, good luck, because 4 stars are very hard to roll for on purpose. And I don't recommend to anybody to roll just for the 4 star if you are not interested in the 5 stars. If you are saving pity for Baiju and Kave, who are supposed to come next banner from the drip marketing that we saw last couple weeks ago. So just be responsible with your gambling, with your gacha, okay, with your primo gems.
If you had to pick between Ayaka and Shenhe, who would you pick?
If I didn't have both of them, I would pick Ayaka. If I have Ayaka, I would pick Shenhe.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So
yep. So for anyone, like, Shenhe's a good support, but she's specific. She has a lot of support aimed towards cryo only. If you don't have either, I'd recommend Ayaka because she's been really fun ever since she first came out.
And I'm looking forward to using Ayaka in Fontaine with her outfit. Because right now her outfit seems kind of out of place, but once we're in Fontaine, right? Well, she is, but also that was from the outfit was from a light novel contest, remember?
Like unintended, but they had an outfit plan, but not for that event. They switched the event. So
right, something
the
like
outfit that they wanted for that was actually supposed to be for the other thing. So they still had an outfit plan, but that's why they still made it.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm just the other thing is, say you don't have interest in Ayaka, but you use Chongyun and you use Kaya, or even just other Ganyu too. If you have Ganyu, you can get Shenhe and she'll be really good. So it kind of just whether or not you should pull for Shenhe when it comes to teams and meta and stuff. Obviously if you want her, go for it. But if you want to make your team stronger with Shenhe, she will do nothing for your team if your team doesn't have any way to apply cryo. And she's really, really good with teams with Ganyu or Kaya or Chongyun. If you have a Rosaria, a bunch of these cryo themed teams, she's very, very, very strong. So definitely worth considering. And yeah, and then Mika, like I said, 4 star. Seems to be really good, and seems to be really good with more constellations too, of course, but no guarantee. So I would probably be careful. And plus, you always have a chance of getting him in the future after this anyway. So I don't think there's personally don't think there's a rush, but good luck to those who want. Now, the last thing I want to mention is not Genshin related per se, but it was a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, which is Honkai Star Rail. And Honkai Star Rail, they had a live stream event recently, and it was just overview of the game, what kind of game it is so far, the gameplay, the story, and man, it looks so good. I played the beta. Those of you who have seen me on stream, I have played the beta, and it was really fun. I really recommend it to those who are fans of turn-based JRPG style games. And of course, it's very accessible. You can play it on your phone, you can play it on PC, you can play it on PlayStation soon. They're going to come out with a PlayStation version as well. And just FYI, the PC version definitely has controller support. I don't know if the phone version will at the beginning, but it is a turn-based RPG, so it's not as hard to play as Genshin, for example, because it's not action-based. You can just take your time and pick your abilities. But Honkai Star Rail is there. Yeah.
About that one, I read there was an article. Honkai Star Rail on the iPhone is going to have support for the dynamic refresh rate, so it's going to go up to 120 hertz, so it can actually show smoother animations. They are going to eventually bring that to the other Android, but iPhone, iOS, they just have really good developer support, so they can just easily make it very quickly. So iPhones and I believe iPads in that same lineup will have up to 120 hertz support for animations. And
we were talking about in the podcast with Island XD, because he plays Honkai, we talked about do you need to play Honkai to enjoy Honkai Star Rail? And the simple answer is no. But if you want to hear more about that, check out the podcast that we did this past weekend, and you will have some of your questions answered. So keep an eye on that, because it's just really exciting, honestly. And Kahi, are you planning on trying it out?
I'm gonna wait for the full release version just because I still have, I'm still like knee deep, like waist deep in like my Destiny 2 grind.
Right. There's no
Genshin
beta. There's no beta anymore.
going
It's
after.
over. So
Yeah.
the
Well,
full
like, when it
release is
fully
April
releases,
26th.
yes, I'm gonna try it out.
April 26th.
April 26th. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try it out. It's most likely not gonna become my next main game because
Right.
I still have two really big games to kind of go back and forth between. But I'll play like casually. That's gonna be like my casual game because if it's turn based, I could probably play that like on a break much easier than
you can
like,
even like auto battle
Genshin
and
on a
stuff while
break.
you're eating or something.
auto battles,
Yeah.
especially.
So cool. Yeah, I think it's really fun. I'm really excited to play it with everybody. Hopefully, people in the community. Now, okay. So one thing that we did talk about was like, can you, like, a lot of people are going to be looking at this game because it's by the same people that made Genshin, but it's not Genshin. It's not an open world like RPG. It is a turn-based one. So like the combat and the flow of the game is very, very different. Of course, the characters look very similar and the effects are very similar, the graphics are similar, but it's a totally different game. So I think everybody should try it and decide whether they like it or not, whether they can see themselves playing it for a long time or not, and then just drop it if you don't think you are about it. And if you keep playing it, great. There's no, like, it's a different game. So just because you play Genshin doesn't mean you play Honkai and vice versa. Just keep that in mind. Now, I would love to have a mini
there are
community.
references, but not necessary.
Right, exactly. And I would love to have like a mini part of our community be supporting that game as well, because it is a Hoyoverse game, and supporting Hoyoverse supports Genshin too. So if you love Genshin and you are interested in that game, I think is no problem supporting both of them. Now, of course, Genshin is still the main thing, but yeah, we'll see. And like you said, it is going to be a big game. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of things to cover. So whether it takes off or not, we'll see. But I'm excited. It is free to play, so there's no harm in trying it. Okay, so that is the little spiel about Honkai. Now let's get started to our bulk of our podcast today, which is the story of Dehya and the Faruzan Hangout. Now, once again, spoiler warning. So if you have not done these stories yet, I recommend that you stop the podcast, you go do the stories. How long they take really depends on you and how fast you read, how long you go through everything. I mean, of course, there's voice acting too, but it will take several hours. I was able to do both of them in about 5 hours, but I was also taking my time with certain things. But I did also skip some things. So, like, it's totally up to you, but just like I would set aside a day to do one of them and a day to do another one, or if you're okay with that, do it in all one sitting. It is just a lot of talking. So yeah, that being said, spoiler warning so from now we will talk about the story. So Kahi, would you take us through Dehya's story?
Alright, so in Dehya's story, I want to point something out that this is most likely the one that has like the most combat in a personal story than anyone else's, because of course Dehya's whole background story is she grew up with Eremite mercenaries. So yeah, they fight a lot. So this one in particular is focused around Dehya and her past, specifically relating to these Eremite mercenary groups. So you first start off, you talk to Dunyazad and Dehya just starts talking about the groups that she was affiliated with in the past. Her current little brigade is called the Blazing Beasts. However, that is not the group that she grew up with. That's the one that she kind of like, formed on her own as she started to like do her own kind of work. So she used to belong to a group called Dakan Alamar, which was a subgroup under the main flag, like a flagship group called the Deshret Relics. So Deshret Relics is like the main organization, and the subgroup Dakan Alamar was led by Dehya's father, who was named Kusela. Now, after learning all about this, you run into a mercenary. Like he was like trying to transport some goods through the rainforest, and you confront him, and you're trying to get like some information out of him. But there's like some papers around that you're trying to figure out what the shipment is, where it's going. He actually tries to bite off his tongue to not say anything, which is pretty dark. But
Pretty
I mean,
brutal, yeah.
that's brutal. Yeah, a lot of people. This is it's not so like brutal in the sense of like bloody battles, but like you can obviously tell like there's a strong sense of loyalty amongst these groups. I mean, I know there's the mafia, there's the yakuza, there's organized crime. This is very similar to that kind of style. However, you learn that Dunyarzad's father, who's named Shahzaman Homayani. So Dunyarzad Homayani and Shahzaman Homayani is her dad.
Mm-hmm.
The Aramite mercenary group is actually getting supplies from him. And so at first you're like, oh wait, he's supplying criminals. Oh, he's involved in some black market stuff. It's a little more complicated than that. So that's kind of a theme going on here. Like you have people kind of doing bad things for good reasons. You have people trying to, right the wrongs in their own wrong way to make it right, So you confront Dunyarzad and her father about this, and Shahzaman reveals, well, I can tell you, but it's probably not gonna be sunshine and rainbows. He's like kind of like warning Dehya, like it's probably best you didn't know this because it's probably gonna change your perspective about her dad. So apparently, when Dunyarzad and Shahzaman were in the desert, when Dunyarzad was really young, they were attacked by the Deshret relics.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kusela, which is Dehya's dad, and his group, which is Daka and Alamar, stepped in and protected them. That was the beginning of that whole relationship. So Dunyarzad didn't even know about this at all. However, Shahzaman that began to have his group, Daka and Alamar, kind of help his family out. They had like a business relationship going. They would be like guards for him, and they would do work around his place. And it was actually business. So they weren't actually bad guys when they met, and that was actually a turning point for that group. But all this time, Dehya thought that they were just a group of mercenaries who just always fought bloody battles and whatnot. So, as Kusela got older, as he was aging and he was kind of getting weak, he actually recommended Dehya and her group, the Blazing Beasts, to Shahzaman to protect Dunyarzad, even though at that point Dunyarzad was already kind of like bedridden and she wasn't really getting out anyways. There wasn't really need to have a bodyguard for her, but Kusela kept insisting because he knew that he wasn't going to last that long, and he wanted like to build like a future for Dehya. So he was the reason Dehya is even a bodyguard for Dunyarzad. And we found out, this was a while ago, it's a very minor detail. Dehya wasn't always going to be her bodyguard, but the father was the one that kept insisting she stayed. In this story, now we find out why he kept insisting, because he felt obligated to her father to keep her out of any other kind of work that would get her in trouble or going back to that other old way of life. So Dehya's original perspective of her father was just, oh, he's just some deadbeat who always got into fights and always was chasing after women and always a drunk. Now finding out that, okay, well, he was actually planning stuff. He was actually preparing for a future, which is actually really heartwarming, because it's relatable. There's like a lot of people, I'm sure they can figure out, like, especially people who are older, who maybe even people who have kids, they actually know this exact kind of situation or feeling or perspective. So now they can kind of forgive the dad for kind of having seemingly, shady or ulterior motives. So Shahzaman also was telling her about what's going on with the groups. I mean, Dehya also kind of knew what's going on with the groups right now, because over time the groups are starting to like fight against each other, like infighting. So she went to go find her dad and went back to her old group, Daka and Alamar, and then she starts, trying to dig around for answers. And then she finds out that Dakan Alamar was already disbanded years ago, and her dad's already dead years ago. So she had no idea about this. So there's it's kind of sad that this is how she found out. Like it wasn't some like grand revelation. It was just, hey, by the way, your dad's dead. So I kind of feel bad for Dehya in that moment, but then she's being told what he did during his last moments. Now this is the cool part. So the Deshret's Relics, the big organization, had a record of every member's history in it. And of course that record is like all of their, what they call sins, all of their exploits, all of their secrets, all of their like dark histories and everything in this record in their headquarters. However, Dehya was the only one who was excluded from it. Obviously it's because Kusela fought to keep that, out, because he did not want anything to come back to haunt Dehya. Dehya never really did anything wrong at all. We kind of know that at this point. Dehya was always pretty much like a straight shooter. She never really had any part in theft, or like she was always had like her personal view of like right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kusela, after he disbanded Dakan Alamar, went to the headquarters of Deshret's Relics and burned the record to the ground.
Yeah.
Now, it was in their headquarters, so it wasn't like a whole big building, but like there was a room that had all the records. He just burned it. Now, this is kind of a side note. There's an event in history called, I think it was the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Does that sound familiar?
I can't say that
It's like
it does.
really old. Okay, it's not as big of an event like that, but there is,
Like in real life?
historically, in real life, the historical parallel is that there was a really big like depository of information, and someone just decided to burn it. So I guess I'm thinking this might have been like a callback to that, or like a parallel to that, or like a reference. I mean, because it's a record of like all things bad. In real life, it was a record of all things good. So I thought it was interesting. Like it might have been a parallel, but I might be stretching a bit. Yeah, after he burned it down, after that, that's when all the groups started to disband. Some people ran away. An interesting side note about what happened in the game is that there were people from headquarters who changed their names and went into hiding. Some fled to other brigades, and others escaped into the rainforest. So, I mean, we might eventually run into some other people who might reference, Deshret's Relics. So even if it's like some random NPC running it around and they say something about like, their old mercenary group, they could actually be related. So you go to the final HQ for Deshret's Relics, and you confront the main group with, the remains of Dehya's dad's old group. And then they all start fighting again, just to kind of have like one last battle and trying to go out in the blaze of glory. So that's when you find the burnt record room, and the one thing you do find is Kusela's cane. Now, the cane actually came apart and hid like a toy wooden sword in the cane. And at that point, a little cutscene plays from Dehya's past when she was a kid, and we saw the first look at chibi Dehya when
Baby
she was
Dehya,
adorable.
she had small
But
hair,
baby
short hair, and
Dehya,
everything. Yeah, it was great.
Short hair. Total tomboy, of course. I mean, when you're a girl like raised by nothing but like a bunch of dudes, you're gonna end up acting a little bit like a dude. But it was still pretty.
She still had the cat
hair
hair though.
Even back then. So the story plays, and you're just kind of, you see Dehya like kind of being all shy. She didn't want to like role play because her dad in the group was trying to put on this play for Dehya being like the savior of justice and like slaying the dragon, and she's not really getting into it. But like there was a toy wooden sword that her dad made for her, and that was actually part of his cane. Now, what's an interesting little symbolism here is that toy sword is what kind of like supported him emotionally and physically. It's it's a good symbol because that kept him up, that kept him
It
upright.
kept him going, yeah.
So, kept him going. So it kept him, going on a straight path. So you find this out, and of course, after everything kind of settles down, you end up back into the city, and you kind of debrief. You kind of like talk about what went on. And at the very end, the last thing that we find out is the guy who attempted to bite his tongue off. He comes back because he's planning on turning himself in because everyone else is. Just to kind of do like one last good deed to to be like what is it, to redeem themselves, which is nice. He brings like a box of her father's old possessions, and it's nothing significant. It's just a bunch of like trash. There's like old candy wrappers and treats, and of course they're deteriorated. They have like bottles of booze that are empty. But I don't really know why they had to mention this one. They said they found a wool scarf which probably belonged to a woman and a hair clip. Now right away, that by itself doesn't really mean anything, but it's the letter that you read after that kind of, I guess, gives some history to that. So there's a letter from Kusela, Dehya's dad, to Dehya, and he wrote it, shortly after drinking the bottle that he just drunk. He admits straight up he is not her actual father. He found her abandoned in the sands of the desert, and he brought her back to the group and said, "Oh, actually, I was messing around with some lady a long time ago. So yeah, this is my kid." So that was a lie. So Kusela is not her real father. We do not know where Dehya came from. We do not know her real origins. She is adopted. She just popped out of nowhere. The one thing I like about that is that she could have much more significance to the big story going on in the world, or not, but it allows people to kind of think. It allows people to kind of like create their own little theories and stuff like that. It's more open-ended, but not open like ending, but open beginning. Knowing like there's still a chance that she could have ties to some other characters, or there's still a chance that she might be related to some other thing or some other event that happened in the desert. So that's why I like this, knowing that she's not tied to just this one storyline. She could be involved in others. It's good open-ended writing because you can call back this character for like 5 patches in the future and say, oh yeah, we're gonna bring that back, we're gonna address that. Hoyoverse always does this good thing where they set up a story and they constantly reference back to those things, like almost like a year or 2 later. So they do constant like setup and set up and payoff. Like set up and payoff. They do that really, really well.
And they keep it open-ended for a while so you can stay guessing, I guess.
Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much how Dehya's story quest went around. So obviously I really like this story. I like all the symbolism. I like all the I like the combat because it kept you involved. It's not just reading dialogue and going from place to place. Some people do like those where they just kind of like learn and listen and like listening to a story being told to them, but this one was more engaging. But what about you, Josh? How did you feel about this story? What did you like, or maybe what did you feel could be expanded upon?
Well, actually, I really liked the entire story. I just thought it was kind of weird at the end. Like part of me thinks like, was it necessary for them to mention that he's not her father without it being significant? Like everything in the story wrapped up very nicely until that moment, until the very end when they're like, wait, what? I'm adopted? You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, so who abandoned her there? And like you have all these questions all of a sudden, even though like her whole story was like, so like we now have the entire story of her being basically after she was found as a baby until today. But now we don't know where she came from. So, and whether that matters also is like another thing, because like, okay, who cares? Like maybe her mom is something or maybe her dad is something. But like, how will that come into play? I can't even imagine right now. But I think her actual story, that part wrapped up really nicely, like about finding out about how she was raised, how, I mean, it's kind of weird to think like how this guy that she thought she hated most of her life was like actually caring for her the whole time and kind of orchestrated everything so that she would be who she is today. Like, I think that's kind of weird. I can't imagine being Dehya in that sense, like how weird that is, especially like because she at first she was even like, I have to like, I don't know if I can face these feelings, like if I can confront him about this yet, because I've just hated him so much. And then she finds out actually he really, really loved you a lot, and actually he did all this stuff, and it's like, wait, what? My life is a lie? Like, it's actually like that. It's actually like,
it's very conflicting.
yeah.
Yes.
So but it wrapped up in the end, and you know, there was like a lot of things that she just didn't want to face, but she was able to face in the end once she found out the truth, which was nice. But you know, now there's this whole Pandora's box of like, well, who is she actually, and where did she come from, and what is the hair clip, and all this stuff. Like, is there significance? So yeah, I don't know. I just I liked what we got to play through. I like that part for sure, like going through the two factions, and the guy who like jumped off the cliff or whatever, like the Deshret relic guy inside of their base. He's like, and he just like jumped off the thing, and it's like, it's so hard to tell sometimes with these cutscenes like what is actually happening. And they also don't want it to be too violent, so but yeah, it was like, okay, I guess that guy just jumped off then and died, I think. So, and then the rest of his, and they were like, your leader is gone, like, you don't have to fight anymore. And I was like, okay. So yeah, so that part was whatever. But you know, most of the story was really nice following through with Dehya. I mean, I also like Dehya as a character, which, you know, we've talked about on here before. So it's nice to know about her. Like, now we know about her and who she is and where she, like, how she was raised, and we there's literally like, we know everything now about that. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It was very emotional. I was not expecting it to be so emotional. It was very dark in general. So yeah, I think it was a pretty decently told story.
Yeah, I feel like we got a lot of information. I think we did get everything we need to know about Dehya, just to like know her motivations. We know a lot about her history, of course, and we kind of know like a general trajectory of what she's trying to do. She's just trying to like have her own brigade, make a name for herself, trying to go straight, not really be like the typical mercenary. And we know this already when we first met her, but
I guess we
know
don't
like, exactly
know
what to expect.
We don't know like how she got her name, the Flame Main. Is there somewhere? I haven't looked into her lore. Like,
it's a name she got herself, like as she was like doing her own thing.
Yeah,
but
that
particular
part,
story,
that doing her own thing, I think that's the part we have the biggest question mark on technically, because, okay, so I said we know what she was doing up until today, but we actually don't know what her like mercenary life was like when she was with the Blazing Beasts and they were just doing their own thing. Like, how did she become so feared?
Yeah, there's a little gap.
Yeah, so there's a little gap there. I don't, whether it's important or not, I don't know, but like now it looks like we're gonna be talking about, if there's a Dehya story part 2, we're going to be talking about her history and finding out who she is, and it's probably going to eat away at her, you know, at some point, knowing that she doesn't know where she's from now, all of a sudden. Like, she already knew she didn't know her mom, but now she doesn't know her dad either, so it's like, you know, what the heck.
Yeah, who knows, she could be related to King Deshret. That's a stretch. That's possible now.
You're reaching, Kahi, you're reaching.
It's a reach, I know. But she has a great sword. She has good reach.
Oh my gosh. You're right. How did I not see it before?
Okay. Well, speaking of reaching, how about Faruzan? You want to lead us into Faruzan's Hangout stories?
I hate you. Speaking of reaching. Okay. So yeah, Faruzan. So let's talk about Faruzan now, okay? We know that Hangouts, right? They have 5 different endings, and I'm gonna go through all 5 endings in order from top to bottom. If you're looking at the big story chart, there's actually an order chronologically, sort of like or not chronologically, but in order, one top to bottom. And so I'm gonna do that, ending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm gonna explain a little bit about each ending, like the story wise, and then we're gonna talk about our favorite and least favorite endings, and then what we just learned overall in general about Faruzan. Okay. So, ending 1, stories of the past. So, just to set the context before you make any decisions, Kale and Tanari are looking for Faruzan because they want to fix Kafka. Kafka? No, Katka, the robot. No, Karakata. Sorry, Karakata, the robot spider. Who, if you've done Tanari's story quest, you will know who that is. And so, assumably, you have to do Tanari's story quest before you do this one, because they need some help repairing him. And Faruzan is a specialist in this field. So you and Kale go to the academia to find Faruzan, and you find she's arguing with someone from the academia who is requesting that she teach a class or do something for the academia because she has not been able to gather students, even though she wants to teach people. So you have two choices at the beginning, whether to stay at the academia or to convince her to come to Paradis Dehya earlier, which Paradis Dehya is where you see Tanari and Kale. So, man, these names. Okay, so, so the short version of ending 1, which is you choose to stay at academia. You help Faruzan create a course. She decides for it to be about learning to read. So helping people outside of the academia with their reading struggles, like Kale, which is where she gets the idea. And they are going to analyze classic literature using this method with books that Faruzan is familiar with from 100 years ago. She finds out what happened to the author and the story that she used to think was popular, but isn't anymore. And this story was called Tales of Shahryar by a Vahumanan researcher that over 100 years ago. But instead, because this book ended up becoming not popular over time, they chose to analyze popular literature instead. And they want to use the readers, the participants' favorite books to help them learn to read. And in the end, they decide to hang out at the tavern with the storyteller Mada, because while they were trying to figure out the history of storytelling of the book that she really likes, they find out that that book actually ended up fading into obscurity because the author was trying to fit too many tropes into it, and it ended up becoming not popular. While The Legend of Antara, another story, the story that Mada actually always tells in the tavern, actually ends up just being a more popular story for the past 100 years. So Faruzan kind of learned that what kind of literature stands the test of time, and it's really interesting to see how she saw and heard about things 100 years ago and thought they were popular, but then 100 years later, even though she thought they would still be popular, they weren't. And it's just like a really interesting thing to think about, is like how our trends change so much over time, right? Even in the real world today. So the ending picture of the first story was them all sitting around a table in the tavern watching Mada tell the story of The Legend of Antara. That was ending 1. Now, ending 2. So knowledge is wealth. You choose to stay at the academia, but instead of helping Faruzan create a school course, you engage in the collaborative project with Ksharawar, and you meet Ksharawar is one of the Darshans, right, of the academia, and you meet Anis, the Kshawaran researcher who really respects Faruzan. So when you go to bring these toys, so the collaboration project is that you have to make a bunch of toys for kids, and you choose to be accurate and detailed in explaining the toys to the kids. But the kids don't really enjoy it, and the Adventurers Guild branch master of Sumeru, Kamal, thinks the Adventurers Guild could actually use these kind of complicated toys as guides to demonstrate to even illiterate adventurers how to solve ruin puzzles and how to be safer when you are adventuring. And Mamdo from Akara Crafts, who is the NPC that is the toy maker, agrees, and the three parties are ready to strike a deal. And when Kamal tells Faruzan how much money that they are willing to put in for the first order, Faruzan almost faints, like in a happy way, because she's so excited.
That picture was great.
I love that picture. And so she faints because she's happy, because she hasn't been able to get research money, and this is the first time where someone is willing to invest in her without her having to switch Darshans, basically, in the academia. So yeah, it was that was like definitely a notable ending in terms of like the picture and like just the emotion that was in it. It was pretty great. So the third ending, the gardener and the nursery. So you choose to stay at the academia, you choose to do the collaborative project, you meet Anis, and instead of being detailed and complicated when explaining the toys to the kids, you choose to be simple in explaining it to them. The kids really enjoy it and decide they want to be researchers at the academia, and Faruzan encourages them to follow their passion and decides to read the excited kids stories about other mechanisms that she has studied, and they enjoy learning from Faruzan in the final picture. They're all sitting around a stoop and reading. Faruzan's reading from a book, all the kids are watching, and the traveler's just there chilling. So that was the third ending. And then we have the other story path, so the last one with 2 endings. And these ones were really good too. So ending 4, start over. So you decide to, instead of helping Faruzan at the academia, you decide to come to Paris Di as soon as possible and convince her to come and drop her what she's doing, basically, to see Tanari and Kale. Tanari wants to ask her if she can fix Karakata. We go to find the parts in the desert, where she says that there are some ancient machines where we might be able to find parts from. And we come across a dig site managed by the Academian Archaeological Extraction Team led by Raid. Turns out Raid and his accomplices have been excavating dig sites and selling the finds on the black market. The dig site that they supposedly found are what's left of the Ruin Wanderer machine. The machine actually ends up reactivating and I think kills Raid, actually, just straight up. Another one of those cutscenes where it's kind of hard to tell what's going on, but you can kind of imply that he just gets like flattened by this machine. And you find out that the machine is actually a modified version of Faruzan's ancient machine robot friend Tamimi, and has been searching for her for 100 years. That's why this robot ended up being called the Ruin Wanderer, because it was looking in ruins for Faruzan, because that's where Faruzan liked to do her research. So for 100 years it's been looking for her. And it was modified by her friends and family to be able to go for longer past its normal lifespan, so that it could just keep searching for her. And it was carrying letters from her friends, her teacher, her family. And she reads them, she's really emotional, and then she needs some time alone. And you end up going back to Paradis Di to tell Kale and Tanari everything that happened with Tamimi and with Faruzan. And then she comes back with the parts from Tamimi to repair Karakata. But everyone is sad about what happened to Tamimi, and they said, wow, you're using Tamimi's parts, you don't have to do that. But Faruzan says, you know what, it's okay, let's just get to work. You're gonna borrow these parts and I'm gonna use them again later to fix Tamimi. And everyone just starts getting to work repairing Karakata. Now, the last ending. So the last ending is called Welcome Back, Faruzan. Now, it's the same as the last path. You find the archaeological people doing all this stuff, and you come back to Paradis Di after Faruzan needs some time alone. But instead, you decide not to tell Tanari and Kale everything that's happened with Tamimi when you get back to Paradis Di. Instead, Faruzan brings back the parts from Tamimi, but doesn't tell everybody about Tamimi, repairs Karakata, and then goes on a night stroll with you to say she appreciates that you didn't tell them, and that she will talk about what happened with Tamimi in her own time. You then tell her what her loved ones couldn't tell her due to everything that happened. You tell her, welcome back, Faruzan. And man, it was a really emotional ending, let me tell you. So that is the I wrote Kafka for a lot of these, but it's Karakata. I don't know, I keep thinking it's just like
I think it might autocorrect, because I was trying to write like Dakan Alamar, but it kept like autocorrecting to Dakar.
Oh, maybe so that's why.
I think it is kind of looking into some other languages, real languages.
I mean, Kafka is also probably. Like there's a popular book called Kafka on the Shore, so maybe there are other reasons that it knows the word.
Yeah, Kafka's a real name too.
Yeah, so that's why. So. Okay, great. So anyway, Karakata. So Kahi, you did all the hangouts. What was your favorite ending and your least favorite ending, and why?
Favorite ending was probably the Welcome Back, Faruzan, just because, if you're gone for 100 years, you went through the desert realizing like your only one robotic companion has been following you 100 years, and you have to like gut it to save this other robot that you just met recently.
Emotions, man.
And then during that, you learn about like a letter that your mother sent to you. knowing that she'll never see you again.
Mm-hmm.
And then after all that, in the dead of night, you had to hide the fact to Tainara and Kale. In this one, you had to not tell them that you had to take parts from your robotic friend.
Right.
And then you just leave afterwards. And then you follow her outwards. I'm like, is she okay? Is Faruzan alright? Because
Yeah.
she's still like, technically she's already like mentally distraught. But you gotta keep in mind, like, throughout this, we learned that when they found Faruzan, she couldn't talk properly or think properly because when she was trying to solve the puzzles in that ruin, she ran out of room on the floors and walls, so she just had to do everything in her head now.
Yeah, that was
So,
crazy.
like, her head's just stuffed with just solutions and formulas. So you're kind of mentally messed up already. So I can already forgive any of her like personality flaws and traits and whatever, just because I know she's not mentally all there yet.
She probably didn't even talk
But then
for like a while.
Yeah. And then after all this, no one even bothered to say welcome back, Faruzan. Is like, wow, the ending title.
I mean, they couldn't,
says,
right?
like,
Like
a
nobody
lot
knew who she
already.
was. Like all
No
the
one-
people she knew
yeah.
were gone.
They're not gonna say. Yeah, they had to look up in history to find out who could this have been. And, oh wait, this is Faruzan.
Yeah.
Because I don't think she knew when she came out. She had to be told that. So,
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah.
That was definitely my favorite ending, just because of how much they packed into it, and it was like what you said. It's pretty emotional.
So I think
it was
all the
good.
endings were good, but like, what was your like just kind of like least favorite?
The one that could have been better. I mean, they all written with a very specific ending in mind. So did they accomplish their goal of that writing thread? Yes, but the one that I personally did not enjoy as much was probably the one where she's just talking about like the story, because the other ones, like, it leads to like a fun moment or like something you learn or something that you discover in something. But this is just, you find out that your story isn't popular. It was a very short story. So the two endings where you convince Faruzan to come to Paradise actually like is a lot longer.
Yeah.
So if you choose that, then of course you're gonna get more story. So there's the thing about these hangouts, there's always a short version and there's always a long version. It's like there's even ones, I think I remember there was one from Barbara, like it seems like it abruptly cut in the middle of it, and then that's your ending.
I see.
They tune it in a way where people who just want to do a quick hangout for like the easy 20 primo gems, they can do the short ending and then they get it.
Right.
But you actually get rewarded more for.
I mean, you don't know which one's the shortest, right?
The story.
Like you don't know which one's the shortest when you're doing the first time.
Right. So yeah, I did not enjoy as much the full storyline of just learning about those books and those novels.
Yeah. Well, I guess
it's take her back was good.
I guess it's kind of like, sorry, I guess it's unnecessary to ask which one's the least favorite then, because like, they're all good in their own way.
Well, like,
yeah.
Which one there's good. They reveal a lot, but there's some that reveal even more. So
Yeah.
I like the poetry of the ones that you have to like really involve yourself in.
Well, I think for me, I guess my least favorite one would probably be the one with the kids, because it's like just kind of normal. Like there's not really anything, like she does everything. It's like very by the book and very expected. Like everything that happens in that is like, oh yeah, I guess that's what would have happened. Like, I wasn't surprised by anything, and there was not really emotions in that sense, but it was fun because you got to like do the thing with the toy and the puzzles, like, oh, like how many moves does it take? Like that was fun. And then my favorite part is, I think, same objectively, like I think that Welcome Back Faruzan is the one that gives us the most about Faruzan in general, but it's also my favorite personally because of the emotions that they go through, and like you can really feel for Faruzan in this one, like realizing again that Faruzan was gone for 100 years, and that everyone that she ever knew, is just gone. She didn't have kids. Like there's no, she doesn't have descendants that she can meet. No one was looking for her after the first 20-30 years, besides the robot, which they programmed to do it, because once her family was gone, that was it. And And then she comes back and she doesn't really know how anything works. And but she's still really passionate about knowledge and learning. And I guess honorable mention goes to Knowledge is Wealth because of that really great ending. the and then she like faints in happiness. Yeah.
The fainting.
But
the picture. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean it was great. And I think that just overall about Faruzan, right? Like I think that we got to see that Faruzan is really, really passionate about learning and knowledge and the spread of knowledge and the like how everybody should have fair and equal access to knowledge. That knowledge, there's no knowledge that is superior to other knowledge. Yep. There's no such thing as useful knowledge, like, and useless knowledge. Like, everything just depends on what you want to know, what you want to see, and what you want to do. And I think that it's really great that she encourages that, and she even gets angry at other people for not doing that. Like, she hates that, what's it, like the Kasharawar Darshan is like, their motto is like, Kasharawar will be the only place you can research mechanical organisms or whatever. And she said, that's not right. Knowledge can't be exclusive like that. Like, everybody should have access to this. And in the storybook one, I like that she came up with this idea for making like a literature class because Kale has problems reading. And so she's like, she had to fight the academia because she wanted to make a class that was for the general public and is not just for the academia researchers. And she had to fight for that. She said, like, why should the academia not be able to share with everybody? Why do they have to only have classes that are only for its students? How is that fair? That's like, monopolizing
public
knowledge.
School versus private school.
Yeah, exactly. And, who says the private schools can't teach the public, like, basically? So there's no real
or like
school
colleges
system.
Too.
Yeah.
Like there is always value in having like a location where people know that they can get information from, like a library, like college, but it should not be exclusive. I think that's a good point from Faruzan too. Like, there should not be only like one exclusive place for knowledge and only access it over here. If possible, it should be available somewhere else.
Yeah, and it's important for humanity to share, basically. And so yeah, I'm really curious because, like, I don't know when the Akasha was made, like the Akasha terminals and stuff. They said that the Akasha had the records.
Well, that was a while ago.
She said the Akasha had records of her, but like, does she wonder why no one has Akasha terminals anymore? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work? So
I'm almost sure she found out, like, because she came out when The Wanderer came out,
right?
So that was at that same time.
Yeah, no, it was already done.
Because everyone kind of found out at the same time.
Yeah. What I mean is, like, 100 years ago, were they using it? Were they using this system, the Akasha terminals? And
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they were.
The sages have like passed down to the titles, so
yeah,
the sages system was always in place when she was around. So yeah, the Akasha came before her.
Yeah, so what I mean is, like, she was using that. That was like the ultimate computer, right? Like, you could connect to other people and get knowledge instantly anywhere in the network. But now that they don't have that, does that not throw off her understanding of like how knowledge is shared? Or is her thinking is just, hey, like, there's no Akasha terminals anymore, so we need to share, we need to teach, we need to like have classes, like, that's kind of what I feel like it is. But she doesn't say anything about the Akasha terminals.
Well, okay, I just remembered. Well, it's actually ironic that I remembered. So when Ruga Devata was forgotten, does that mean that we technically have to forget the Akasha was a thing? Because it was, or
well, no,
was the Akasha made
they just
by the sages?
Like, so everything that was Ruga Devata before is just Nahida now, like, in history.
Right.
So remember, we can't erase the fact that it happened, so everybody knows about it, but like why it happened and why it got there was changed. Right?
So then, okay, now I'm trying to remember. The Akasha system, was it developed by humans using god power or by the god?
No, it was I think it was given to them by Nahida.
Okay.
or by the god,
Oh,
by Rukkhadevata, but
okay, so they just think Nahida was the one that bestowed it upon them now, instead of Rukkhadevata,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Okay.
yes, so originally like I believe it was like Greater Lord Rukkhadevata, and she used her gnosis, and then like that's how she created this like Akasha system, and it was powered by her
Okay.
gnosis. And then because they took the gnosis away, and they turned off the Akasha because of the things that people were doing with it, we've kind of come to where we are now. But the point is that only the god has that power to do that. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. So people still know like why they don't have
Right.
the Akasha system. Okay.
Right.
I
But
thought they had to
the
forget it, but no,
reason
it was just
why
yeah.
they had it in the first place is what changed.
Okay. Gotcha. Right. I
Yeah.
honestly thought Faruzan was gonna be more involved into like an upcoming story,
Mm-hmm.
just because I feel like it is kind of a big deal that you have this one particular isolated incident of a person who was isolated in a ruin while the whole Rukkhadevata thing was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole like undoing of the Airman Soul Tree and the memories, and then this person comes out. I feel like that was kind of a important thing to know about. It's kind of like it's important to know that Layla is a person that has multiple personalities, but it's not a disorder. It's something that is not explained but may have interesting implications,
Mm-hmm.
but just never elaborated on. This is Faruzan's another one of these instances.
Right.
So Layla's only appeared in like side stories, side quests. Faruzan only appeared in this. She's never appeared in anything else. So
Right.
I hope she has a part in the next patch, but I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, right? But also, Hangout Part 2 is always a thing. So only Noelle has one right now,
Mhm.
but they could always just make more. So
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a Noelle Part 3 because she has to be a knight at some point. she's so close. She's right there.
she'll be upgraded. They'll re-release a 5-star version of her with different armor.
Oh my god! Like, imagine you can upgrade a 4-star to a 5-star with like a special quest.
I mean, there are other games that do it. You know what I mean? But
Super Ascension.
So yeah. Anyway, so that's Farzan's, Hangout, and I thought it was really great. I think that, like I said, there weren't really any bad endings per se. Like there wasn't any ones that felt like they weren't true to her character in some sense. So and they all taught us something like in some way about Farzan. So I really really enjoyed the event. Yeah, like it was really good. So thank you for joining us in talking about Dehya's story and Farzan's Hangout. So like I said, we discuss stuff like this all the time in our Discord. So if you haven't joined us already, join our Discord. Thank you very much. And let's get started with our community question. Okay, so for last week's question, we asked if you could give any playable character one new accessory, what would it be and for who? So for me, I would give Beto a pirate hat. Because it just I don't know, it makes sense, you know what I mean? She's a pirate. She has a really cool look. I would love to see like a really cool black pirate hat on her. And I mean, she's a pirate, so like why not? I don't know if Chinese pirates is a thing. Like I really don't. So, but I'm thinking like more like pirates, just like Pirates of the Caribbean-esque pirates. So yeah, I would love to see that. What about you, Kahi?
I would give Zhongli a Geo teacup. Like he can form one like kind of out of thin air and just like sip tea and then it just disappears. I'm thinking like what it would look like in an idle animation.
Wait, doesn't he have an
But he
idle
could have,
animation like that?
Where he sips tea?
Yeah,
No,
he
just
has
summons like an orb. He just summons a meteor and he just kind of thinks with like, he doesn't bring out a teacup.
Wait.
Does he? I've stared at his character for a while. I don't think he pulls out a teacup.
What? Why do I feel like he pulls out a teacup? Maybe he doesn't.
No, your Ayato pulls out like a boba drink, but
Right.
Zhongli just like he has the meteor spinning around, He's like thinking with his hands, looking like he's like flipping a coin or like counting.
You're right. I guess he doesn't
And
have
then
that.
that's pretty much it.
So here's the thing. Maybe it's just so appropriate that I thought he already had it.
Yeah, see, it matches.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
definitely.
Because the first time you see him, well, before his trailer, like in his trailer, he's like just sitting there listening to storytelling and sipping tea. That's his thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, duh. Okay, I know why. Because the One More Cup of Coffee podcast, like their starting soon screen is like a really nicely drawn picture of Zhongli holding tea.
See, it matches so well.
That's so funny. Yeah. Wow. I mean, maybe it's coffee, but it's tea. It's tea. Yeah. That's so funny. I literally thought it was really a thing because of that picture. All right. Well, yeah, that's a good one. Obviously. So, great. So, so let's see what everybody else was saying this week. I'll check starting from Discord, and then Kahi will go from Spotify. So from Discord, babygirl_28 says, I want Zhongli to have some bling, like gold rings over his black gloves would look pretty cool. Yeah, I think it would look pretty cool. But he's poor, so guess it'll never happen.
Broke, so I don't think he can afford.
Oh, you know who can afford a child? His sugar daddy can afford it for him. Okay, so Retro Sky says Kazuha with maple leaf earrings. It is literally his theme and is wrong that he doesn't have them already. I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Yeah.
Maple leaf earrings.
Maybe like one maple leaf earring.
He can pull it off for sure.
That he made himself.
Yeah. And he just takes it off and he like blows on it and it plays music. Yep, that sounds about right. So Nabi says, since Barbara is known as an idol in Mondstadt and she sings, I've seen fans call her a K-pop idol. So I think it would be cool if she had a microphone or like had tinsel colored highlights in her hair. I do want to add I love Mihoyo's detailed character design. For example, Xiangling's bell and how it makes noise when she walks is so cute. Yeah, I mean, I could see Barbara having a microphone. That makes way too much sense. But, microphone technology, does it exist? I don't know. We have to get to Fontaine to find out.
That is actually a good point. I don't remember anyone ever speaking into a microphone of sorts. Like, nothing that looks like a microphone. Not even a megaphone or...
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always just yelling.
They just yell. They just yell. Okay, so Angel. For one, I would give Sino a TCG deck holder that would go under his cape thing. Another would give Benny like a red jacket that matches his clothes. It would look very scrappy but cool. And then I'd give more characters tattoos like Homa. You get a dragon or something down one arm. Kazuha would get something to remind him of his friend. Sino would get his favorite TCG card on his arm just to make Tanari so annoyed with him. Yeah, I mean, giving Bennett anything, I'm down for it. Yeah. Because I think Bennett would be much more interesting design-wise to me if he had more stuff. And Sino TCG deck holder. I mean, I can just imagine him with like a straight-up dual disc from Yu-Gi-Oh.
He could be doing like the gesture, like he's trying to like figure it out, like, where would the card go? Like his arms are actually like in the same position as they are. Like, you don't see it, but you see him look like he's putting cards, like, right against his forearm.
I gotta say, like,
cool.
Sino is a great character. Like, Sino is fantastic. Like, just the fact, like, his whole background, plus his joke telling, plus his, like, obsession for TCG. I think he's great.
I think without the, what is it, trope? Nah. Well, without the thing about him making like bad jokes, I think he would probably be too broody or like too emo. I like how they kind of gave him that just to round out his character. It's
great.
Like,
it's
make him more approachable.
Very balanced, I think. Sarah, give Kale a pair of glasses so she can match with her new buddy Sucrose. All right.
That works.
Yeah.
That does work.
I don't mind that. Renovo, I'd want something for the traveler besides wings, like maybe a new set of gloves or some cool floating crown like Paimon. Well, I just want to say that floating crown is probably really significant, and we'll probably find out at some point what that is.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because they even keep calling him and the sister like prince and princess.
Right.
So.
And
is it implied or did they say it already?
No, it's implied. Everything's implied.
Okay, I guess so.
What's her name? Lilipar says something about the traveler being like royalty, and
Yeah,
and you
'cause
don't
she
deny
calls,
it.
Oh, she calls him master.
No,
And
but
prince.
she says you are royalty, like you come from royalty, don't you?
Uh-huh.
And you can choose not to deny it. Something like that.
Oh, so you are some.
There
Okay,
was
so
there
you
was a
are
thing. There was a
pretty
thing
much a
there.
prince.
I'll look into it later. I love this name. Rex Lap isn't. I always thought Lisa's default outfit was a little plain. She deserves a tassel of silk bookmarks hanging from her belt, or at least some patterning and embellishment on her dress besides the Knights of Favonius crest. Let Our Lady of Luxury live.
Oh, okay, so like more of an elegant dress, not so much.
Yeah,
like
a little more elegance for Our
simple
Lady of
dress.
Luxury.
Okay, gotcha.
Chemleon, I want to be able to put on the flower crown we got from the Aranara quest and be able to put it on any character. I'd like to pick up accessories as we do quests and be able to use them on any character as well. Nice. Yeah, I wish. That'd be cool. I didn't get that far in the Aranara quest, but I did see the pictures. Did you finish Aranara quest, Kahi?
I think yeah. I went all the way to when they had to. What was the last part? You went into like the underground.
You got the
tree.
crown?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so then
the,
you know.
the flower crown.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't last long. So.
Yeah, unfortunately. Javathan, I want Sino to carry a deck box, rolled up mat, and dice pouch on a belt so he's always ready for Geniusification TCG. Yeah, you know, honestly, if Sino had some like really dramatic outfit and he had like it had to do with TCG, I would get it. I would use it. I would use Sino more for sure. That'd be hilarious. Kazu, my answer is instead of giving an accessory, I would like to take one away. Venti's hat. Interesting.
Oh man, really? I feel like that hat is kind of part of him.
I think so too, but I also think
It's
it's
almost like
cool.
Wanderer's hat.
It's also cool to like imagine being able to take off like those kind of accessories. But
Yeah, I guess so.
but it is part of his character. So yeah, I would say like I don't think it'll ever happen like personally, but unless it's a different outfit entirely. But it's definitely part of his normal outfit. Paimonyaka, longer skirts to the ladies and maybe some pants. I'm old.
I agree with you on some of them.
I would not mind.
Some of them, the characters do
Yeah.
look better without them be too long.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe that's just a personal
what is it
thing.
like? You know, Mona. Mona's like OG costume
hear
where
ya.
she has like tights like that just go all the way up her legs and it's like a one
Oh,
piece.
jeez.
I actually prefer
The camera
her
work?
new character though,
Uh-huh.
like her new the
Yeah.
censored model. Like I actually prefer the way that one looks.
It matches the rest of the outfit too, because it's not just the same color, but it's like the same design, same edges,
Right.
same like, yeah, same icons and everything. The camera work when she showed up, when you first met her,
Mhm.
I swear the camera went into places it should not have.
Oh
even
really?
gone.
I don't even
I
remember.
don't know why.
That's so funny.
No, because like you weren't looking at her at all. Like, every angle was just weird. I can't explain it. But
It's
like,
very.
okay,
You know
if
what it
she's
is? You know what it
talking-
is? It's very old Mihoyo.
Mhm.
It's very Honkai Third Impact. That's what it is.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
They've learned to level off because they got, and when you get to be a big company like MiHoYo and like HoYoverse, and you have to rebrand to HoYoverse, and then
Mhm.
you start having the government looking at you and say, hey, you got to make a new outfit for some of these characters.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to start to pull back a little bit.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so Spotify questions, Kahi.
Okay. Spotify. All right, we got a few people from here. We have the first name. I love this name. It's Katsuha. I would give Tainari fake ears, so when people touch it, they get weirded out instead of him. Next one, Keevsa. I'll give Wanderer a Mexican hat because it's funny. By the way, Josh, do you remember this person? Keevsa, Keevsa.
Yeah,
Sounds
sounds familiar.
Mhm.
It's
So,
a
yeah,
nickname.
they just say, hey, by the
Yeah.
way, Josh, remember me?
Yeah, I'll look it up. Join
Um,
Discord, keeps us so
okay.
we can talk.
Okay. Pimzo Balto. I would give Kale a small bag of some sort for keeping extra boomerangs. Ooh, that works.
Yeah,
Like a little satchel, little bag, little.
I mean her boomerangs are
Yeah,
pretty big.
it's like some
Not gonna
little-
lie.
Yeah, I mean. Oh, what was her name again? Sango from
Oh,
Inuyasha.
from Inuyasha, Sango. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my
What
god,
did she always say?
dude.
Dang it.
Sango
Kirako or something?
cosplay for Kale.
Yeah, that'd be great. We have next up, James. I would give Yoimiya a backpack chock full of fireworks. It's a big part of her kit, but we never really see them, do we? I do love pyromanes. Hashtag Klee. Yeah, Yoimiya having like a bag. Like, you know how like they just tie like a bag, like a little sack, like, you know, around their necks or around their waist and everything. Like instead of like a backpack, like they just tie a bag around them.
Right.
With just a cloth. I can see that. Fabrizio. I want to say Fabrizio because I keep thinking of Master of Disguise.
Yeah, maybe.
Did you ever watch that movie?
Yeah, oh my god, yes.
Fabrizio Disguise. I love that movie. Okay, I would give Kaya a mask of Cryo Abyss Mage, and it would be on his belt or wherever it is. You know, that would work.
Oh, interesting.
Oh wait, Abyss Mages are closer to Kai and Rhea as well, right? Or like,
yeah, there would be, if they really ever did this, there would be so many lore implications.
Yeah, it'd be. Maybe you could get it afterwards, but yeah, it does match him now that we know a lot about him. But that'd be cool. Oh wait, we first met Kaya when we were fighting the Cryo Abyss Mage. Or was it Hydra?
I think it was
Hydra.
I think it was. Well, yeah, maybe it was Hydra actually.
Yeah, because I know Dealer came in last minute and killed it. But yeah. Next up, Emil Strange. I'll give. Oh gosh, here we go. I would give Zhao a Zhauer, so he'll feel better. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
Did Sino make a Spotify account just to leave a comment? Yo. Oh my goodness.
Emil Strange, Sino would be proud.
Emil? Really? Yeah, Sino would be proud. Peachy on Genshin. Nahida gets 10. Wait, Peachy on Genshin says Nahida gets 10-inch hot pink high heels and hot pink lipstick and nail polish and hot pink gloves. You know what's hilarious about this?
What?
I feel like there could be like some kind of like story quest where Nahida's trying to figure out like, I don't know. Wait, what would it be like?
Like, you know how, like, was it how modern women do something or other, right?
Yeah. Like she's trying to like learn the people more instead of just watching from afar.
Yeah.
Just like how
I don't know why it needs to be 10 inches.
Shogun.
10 inches? That's like half of Nahida's height. Are you kidding me?
No, like someone would be trying to like give her like a fashion makeover, and they would be doing it all wrong, and then someone has to step in and actually correct everything.
I'm just gonna say this is a very classic Peachy answer.
Yeah, of course. And last but not least, Lex Luthor. Oh, this is funny. Command, this is Lorefish 2. Be advised, Klee is developing Dodo Kong, a satchel charge that deploys a puppet leading into her own explosive and artillery testing domain. Please bring here protection.
I like the way that's like,
okay,
Command, this is Lorefish 2.
This is Lorefish 2. Oh, remember from our last
the quiz episode?
I believe this is a Lorefish 2.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just for those of you that are listening that did the quiz episode, I totally messed up with the rankings, and like I overlapped. Like, if you had 0 to 4 right, and then 4 to 8 right. So like, if you had 4, you had 2 different choices for which title you wanted. I didn't mean to do that, so next time I'll fix it. But I mentioned it in the description and in the Discord. So if you want to be up to date with that stuff, join our Discord. Okay.
All right, and before we wrap up, a new community question for next week. If you were planning to steal paintings in Fontaine, who would be on your 4-person team for the heist? So, 4 playable characters, and these 4 people are not going to do combat. They are going to go on a heist to steal a painting, an artwork, a picture from some really fancy art gallery in Fontaine.
So it's like the Great Pretender.
There's going to be one, but yep, pretty much, yes. This Ocean's 11, this stuff, okay? All right, who's your 4th-person team to go on a heist with you? Let us know, and we'll see you next episode.
Yeah.
But before that, Josh, I believe you have one last thing.
Yeah, one last wish, as it were. So we're gonna do our one last wish segment, which is a segment where which is a segment where Kahi and I choose one banner and roll exactly one time and see how lucky we can get. And recently it's turned into who wins by getting either like 5-star trumps a 4-star and 3-star, 4-star trumps a 3-star, 3-star 3-star is tied, and 4-star 4-star I guess is tied too. If we get an episode where one day we both get 5 stars, that's it. We've hit peak. Like, that would be amazing.
That's awesome.
Okay.
You know me who I was listening.
So I'm going to be rolling on my American account. I'll roll first. I'm going to roll on Shunha. I'm at 40 pity. Okay, so around 40. So nowhere near. So I'm going to go ahead and roll once. Okay, ready? And it's 3 stars blue. Okay, it's just blue. False alarm, people.
All right.
Sharpshooter's oath.
Well, since I have Shenhe and I have Ayaka, I definitely would need a good weapon, because I have like Ayato's weapon and I just gave it to Ayaka, so I wouldn't mind getting Shenhe's weapon because I could still use it on some other characters, but I wouldn't mind getting that Mist Splitter either because it's a really nice sword and it's pink. So I'm going to be wishing on the weapon banner, one wish, here we go. And it is also blue.
Oh.
Let's see what weapon I got. I got the Blood Tainted Greatsword.
Oh, nice.
I used to really use this a lot.
On Beto?
I used to put it on Beto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, better luck next time.
One last wish.
And yeah, that's our episode for the day. So that wraps up the show. As always, thanks for listening. If you have time, please leave us a comment and a review. We'd really appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and join our Discord. The link is in the description. Follow us on Twitter, once again, at Genshin Guys Pod, at JSide Gaming for me, and at Kahiao, KahiyaO for Kahi. And, as always,
at Astra Abyssos.
星と死ねを目指せ.
Enjoy.